Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone,
Welcome,
and welcome
back.
to our new fantastic office. Hi, Marco Brito. You're the first one. Yeah, we are streaming just for you today. Hope
Exactly.
you're gonna enjoy it.
Do you want to give a bit of an overview what we're doing today, Berto?
Yeah, today we are going to analyze Outriders that just came out a few days back, the April 1st. And it's a kind of mashup between Destiny and The Division. You're gonna see it. It's a first-person shooter, and it's developed by People Can Fly and published by Square Enix. And it was fun to play. Hopefully, it is also fun to watch and analyze.
Awesome. And for those of you who are new to the channel, in this channel, we're gonna, in fact, look at the game, in this case, Outriders, and we're gonna freeze the frame and try to analyze all those details that went into the environment to make an environment enjoyable for the players and looking cool. Let's dive into it. Ta-da. Have you guys played Outriders before?
Or have you heard of it? Because it's out since last Thursday, I think. Yeah. There was a playable demo during the last weeks.
Okay. Obviously, some of the video is sped up because we don't want you to look at too much stuff. Even if this time maybe wasn't worth it, but whatever. Let us know if you guys can hear clearly, if you have like issue with the volumes or things like that. Hello, Grand Ducato.
Hey there.
Grand Ducato. So right here, oh, forgot to get the right one. Right here at the beginning. I mean, there's a car here that is literally blocking everything, but you can see how this path has like a different material. There's like dirt there and grass there, and it's also lit. You can see how the sun is basically touching this part of the map. And that's the only lit area of this map right now, which is suggests a lot that the players will go up there. Maybe not, maybe it's a flank route, we will see. But in general, like, right off the bat, if you highlight something with the lights and you keep other things in shadow, that will definitely help to give a sense of directionality. And yeah, it's cool. We got these elements that is here, and it's also repeated here that give us a sense of scale as well as directionality, because we also have another one here, I think, and that gives the sense of movement towards that direction. And it didn't
I see that people are already contributing with the Borto Spaghetti Dance mode challenge with the spaghetti points. So just as a reminder, there's this fantastic challenge where I'll need to dance if we reach 30,000 spaghetti points.
Exactly. So
So if you want to see that happen, just drop the spaghetti points in the chat.
and we do want to see that happen. So throw your spaghetti points in there.
So
Cool.
this game is very similar, like I said, to The Division, in my opinion. I mean, in terms of mechanics. So it's gonna be interesting to see you analyzing it, because you developed The Division 2 when you were Newcastle working for Ubisoft.
Yeah, yeah. I had making the division too. Wasn't alone, but yeah, we'll see what I can see.
So many spaghetti points. Whoa! Thank you, Paolo, for the beats. Too kind, dude.
Thank you, Paolo. We need to fix that overlay that is going outside the screen. Okay, let's see what happened here.
No problem, Doc.
So one thing that is really smart here that they did is, in order to avoid having invisible walls in game, which everyone likes it, you saw how this trunk here was somewhere like there, and it went down. Like it went down, and you create that physical barrier that prevent the player to escape this area. And that's because probably in this area here, which looks like a camp or something where they're like setting up some structures and things, you will have to do something before you actually continue in that direction, which is might be where you go, which is pretty cool. Like in general, avoid to have a invisible collision, because that will frustrate and break the immersion of the players. Because if the player sees an opening and it cannot go through because there is an invisible collision, then the player will like, oh, that's a game, right? I mean, obviously they know that it's a game, but if you don't have those kind of reminders, it's even better to improve the immersion of the game.
Set up a perimeter. I want fortifications going up within the hour. Jakob, you're field testing the munitions. Gutman, get your scanner up and running so we can find those damn probes.
Beep, beep, beep. There's something really cool that I'm noticing, which is not sure. I need to look a bit more to see if that's a thing or not.
In the environment, or what?
On the environment, yeah. Which is pretty cool. And maybe I'll mention it later. Let's see. So I guess you have to talk with that guy, say a few things. See how the
So-
vehicles are creating that
Yeah.
physical barrier too, and they're like in a smart way opening the ways so that you can explore different sections of that camp. I think that's really smart. Is this a co-op game?
It's a multiplayer game, so like Destiny or The Division, so you can party up with other friends and play raids
Is it like
or
2,
doing
3,
open world.
4 players co-op?
I think 4-player co-op.
Because there's not enough cover here for 4 people. Or maybe this is like the beginning where you cannot play co-op yet.
Yeah, I think this is kind of solo tutorial, so you don't really have company here. I think there's a point where you can, alongside the next mission, there's a point where you can join or party up with other people. But right now it's a solo mission.
Because usually, if you make a game that is co-op, you need to be able to provide enough cover for all players and enough covers in general. Because otherwise, few players might not be covered, and they might like, oh, I'm getting shot at it, and when I get to cover, but there's none. So yeah, that's why I was calling out. But I think like the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes of the game might be just a tutorial for single player. And once you reach an settlement or something, that's where you unlock multiplayer ability. There you go, another smart way to open the way.
Mm-hmm.
Heads up, I got movement. 9 o'clock, something big.
All units stay alert. Guard the perimeter. Hold your fire until we know what we're dealing with.
Right, so here, obviously you see how unique this tree is. See the shape, language, and how big it is in general. So that's definitely one of the landmark of this a little bit. And as we say in other episode, having a landmark is very useful to give a sense of orientation to the players, because they know that if they're here, the landmark is on the right, they're like on this left side of the area, and if they're here on the same way, they are on the right side of the area, so they can always see the landmark. And in this case, the landmark also serves the purpose of leading the players to that location, because I guess that is something you have to do there or something. And you can see how the silhouette is so like that and that, and then there's like this opening here, which is well curated with the vines to create an interesting kind of look at position, and that's also reinforced by the fact that there is this sort of clearing with the rocks that you can get to it, and between the player location and that entrance there is like almost no obstacles, so it's very straightforward, and the players can see where to go in a very easy way, and you can see all the details are on the side, trees and things, so that definitely helps to guide the player there, and it's very easy. And you can really tell the visual language of rocks, which is not okay, you cannot go here, or that's a barrier. So they're really teaching you that this is a wall, even if realistically you will be able to climb that as a person, but in the game probably you can't, and that's showing you where you can't and cannot go already. So obviously that's very nicely led there. And the fact that there is no cover around suggested me that there is no combat in this area. Because otherwise, if there was combat approaching that tree, you would probably have a cover here. You would probably have a cover there. Maybe this is another cover, and a cover there, and a cover there, and a cover there, etc. But because you don't have that, that's clearly just we call it a narrative bit where we don't have shooting and killing, but it's just like a traversal sort of experience. Hello, Slowhand. Welcome back.
Hey there.
Yeah, I'm seeing them over here too. A whole herd of them.
Are we sure all the wildlife around here are vegetarian?
It's pretty cool. Some movement. I like. You see how the camera is shaking. A lot of times when there are explosion or things like that, it's a very good thing to shake the camera and to make it more immersive in that sort of way. And one thing that I noticed too is that all those creatures went like on that direction, went like that way, but one went up here, right? You can see that, and that's clearly like, oh, right. There's like the narrative of the places, the creature moving around and roaming around this land, but then this guy here is helping you to guide you up there, because you're like, oh, okay, he's going up there. Maybe he's special or something, or maybe I have to do something with him. I need to chase him up, and that's why you're gonna follow that.
So in terms of battles, we have to yet see one. So you didn't miss anything.
Didn't miss anything, Sloan. But what we're seeing now is a visual language. You can see here, and that's pretty clear. And you see in all the games that has this sort of navigation, you can see how these ledges are signposted with this variation of color, and that's basically probably to tell you that those rocks here are actually let me get a better color. Those are actually climbable sort of thing, so you can hop over or take cover or do things, and you can see how the other rocks here, they are very noisy and scattered around. That doesn't give you a clear directionality or clear like, oh, that's cover, because that's just for the background, and probably you don't have any. You can get to this area. So this is like visually telling you, as we were saying earlier, that you cannot go there. And in this case here, we will probably have a wall. Oh, sorry, a wall sort of like invisible collision somewhere around this area here that prevents the player or the nav mesh to generate and go on this side. Same for this location here. Gonna have something like that or something. And because the rocks are there and they're noisy and they're like creating a lot of obstacle, the invisible walls is not out of place, but it's like contextualized with the dressing around it, which is something really good to do in general.
Hey, maybe you can get close enough to get a DNA sample.
Not exactly our priority, but if I can get close without spooking it, I'll try.
When we place covers, we try to contextualize them into the environment, not just to place things there, but to make sense of it. So like those rocks were nicely placed in a way that were blending with the background ones.
Good work, Outrider.
Hold on. Tyler? I'm picking up a second signal. But something
Sometimes though, we have to place a lot of crates and things just to
rising and falling?
make it more enjoyable for the players.
Outrider Alpha to HQ.
Oh, I was joking and I was muted. Okay.
Negative Alpha.
So yeah, a fresh new game, which actually came out last week,
Afford to make mistakes.
and we are trying to, jump on the hype train.
Window. We have the data. I'm calling it in. You want to keep searching? Don't blame me if you find trouble. Over and out.
Hey, Meek.
Right through me.
Thank you, dude.
Let's go find that stray.
All right. So one thing that I've noticed that is really cool, and is those flowers. Yeah, you can see how around the players the flowers get green, and the more you go away from the player, the more they change color. And that's I think really cool. You can see like in those kind of patches, you will see this sort of transition in terms of color, and in general that's a good way to integrate the players movement, the players like moving around the environment with the environment, because a lot of times characters and environments are very detached by each other, where if you add things that interact with the character environment, it's really cool, and it creates like a better experience. Because
Hey, Yari.
from the distance, you see they all look like reddish, and they are also good because they create variation. So you can see here, and probably there's not enough, maybe there is, I don't know, but you can see how we got this vast land of grass, which is everywhere. And because that would have been a bit too boring and too repeated, we got these patches things that breaks it up. Here, there, and here as well, etc. And plus we got some rocks here, which had another variation, and obviously tree and bushes. So in general, even if you have like a flat land, try to break it up with other details to reduce the repeatability of the grass or whatever it is. And you can clearly see the edge of this map, and in general, a bit is like too in your face, but you can see how that's where the edge of the world is in this map here. And obviously here goes behind, I think. But you got a clear understanding of the borders of things. And because we don't like to have the same material over and over and over and over and over, we try the same way that we break this grassland with the patches of different type of vegetation. The same way we try to hide a bit of the rocks, in this case the rock wall, with trees on top of it that breaks that material, so that you still see the bigger picture, but at least you don't only see rocks material. You can see the trees there. There's like trees there or something. Very cool. But yeah, you can see how when you get close to this flower, they get green. So cool. Obviously now we are going back. A lot of things going on here.
So as always, you guys, if you have any question, drop them in the chat, and we'll ask them to Leo.
I'm gonna go back a bit here, because there's UI everywhere and it's very hard to see things. But you can see here how the sense of depth and the atmospheric fog allows you to see kind of where you have to go. You have these nice noisy silhouettes all around you, and you can see how these rocks is very like in the foreground, which creates this sort of movement here. And then behind that we got then this other rock here, which is slightly in the middle ground. And then we got the background, which is the things that you see in the background that is affected mostly by the atmospheric fog, which reduced their values and they make them brighter. And you can see how there is a sense of depth and layering to the scene, and you can almost see that the shape here is like giving you some breathing room to the shape here, so that you can sort of see the path going like here that you don't see because there's the grass here, but you can kind of understand that it will go that direction. And I think in general, like, it's really like instead of just having a straight road going straight to the to where you have to go, having something more undulated, it definitely makes the environment less boring.
Requesting quarantine procedure at base.
Damn it, Tanner. I told you bozos not to go and mess up this operation. It's my name on the line when it's landing, and you have no authority over me.
Maxwell.
Hey, boss, we lost you.
So now I think that is like here we got another example of there's no a straight path, but instead you go around like this, and then there you go somewhere there that you don't see yet, but that's another conversation. One thing that I want to point out here is that even in this shot we don't have rocks, but we got, I think, just the embankments with the soil, but you can clearly see the edge of this map. So right now you're being guided through this environment here, and you can clearly see the walls around you, which is pretty cool. And as you can see that from details like that, like these flowers here, this flower there, that, things like that, as well as this one here, they're all there to break a bit the details and to add a more interesting information to the scene, so we can integrate better this wall than just having like a wall. You can see how the details from the top are blending on the wall by integrating this wall a bit better. In this specific case here, they also add a nice silhouette information to the end of the wall. And and this plant here at the bottom, like I did many times in other drawing, that's just to create a nice transition. So in that case, you can see we got the embankments there. We got, actually, let's make it blue. Oops. We got the embankments there, which is something like that. And then it's going down like this. And then we got these flowers here. Whatever they are, we got this thing here. That probably are going also in here. It's pretty cool. And then lastly, we also have some slope. You can see how the road is all like sloped to create that sort of channeling in the players. And then here it goes like that, like that. And then... So in the same way here, we got the same slope kind of thing. And then we got the path, which is this one. And you can see how the details, you can see how this is not just a wall, but it's more than a wall. And all the details that are placed here, they add like a nice transition in terms of details, information to the thing. But what's nice is that this surface of the embankment here is very exposed, which clearly indicate that the edge of the map of where you cannot go in a very easy way. And in general, like you see the level of details from the top part where that helps blending the top of it a bit to the bottom. It really helps to integrate the sense of details to get to the path here, kind of thing. Thanks, Dan. Nice to see you here. Here another cool thing, and it's actually let me get a better shot because I went too far with this. Just move it a bit. So we're going through this channel here, and it's all very on our side, but in this point here, we got this this sort of tunnels created by the branches and the roots of this thing, whatever it is. And I think with that, we also have a lot of vines coming down, which is really cool, and it creates a very nice parallax effect, as well as interesting silhouette. And in general, having these sort of elements here and there where players has to go through, like under something, and that something has a lot of things like coming down like that, which creates a lot of parallax, improves a lot the sense of transition of the space. Because until this point, we only had elements moving on our side and on the ground. Well, now that we have things on top of us, when we are getting here to this location here, you're gonna have a parallax effect revealing the next area from all around you, which will improve your sense of movement and sense of transition within the space.
Some kind of saprophyte or mycelium? What's this? Collect samples.
Ba, ba, ba. Look at that, clipping through the rock.
Yeah.
I like this freeze.
Okay, you want to play? Then let's play.
Oh. You also popped out.
As we mentioned in other, I think we were looking at Sekiro at that time, but you can see how, and if I go back a bit, you can see how in this area here, you don't have to fight like the rest of the game, which is cover-based shooter, but you only have to dodge these animals here, and because of that, there is no obstacles in the fight area, so that you don't kind of get stuck in objects and things. So you can see how everything here, it's all very clear, so that you can easily move around and dodge that piece there, and it's very nice for the player experience. And definitely this area, it will not work the same if you have to shoot, because if you have to shoot in this game, this area, it will be full of rocks that serves as a covers and crates or other elements that allows you to take cover there and shooting. But because in this fight you only have to dodge and shoot at that things, all the area around you is very clear. And again, you can see how the walls go straight up everywhere, kind of the same height, which tells you that this is sort of an arena thing, and it's very clear that to see the edges of the fight area, so that you don't focus on that, but you focus on fighting this creature.
Play? Then let's play. Captain, got attacked by one of those.
Cool. And another reason why everything is so clear is because as Borto was playing, you will back up a lot and you will not see where you're going because you're going backwards. So because of that, the less obstacle you find, the better. So that it improves the overall experience.
So were you guys expecting the release of this game? Did you know about it? I saw a lot of videos on YouTube about it, viral marketing, stuff like that.
The only time I saw this is when they announced it for the Game Pass, and I was like, okay, is that a new game that goes straight to the Game Pass? And I was like, it's cool. One thing here, which is a common thing that I shows every time we look at games, is contrast. You can see here how in this image, apart from like temporary VFX or UI elements, the high contrast part of the environment is here, and probably that's where you have to go. So obviously light helps a lot to guide the players throughout the environment. And in this case, we just went through this environment before, and the fact that now something has changed is a really good way to have player re-navigate the same environment, but with a twist. In this case, there's this sort of storm, and you have things going on. There's a lot of the intensity is very high, and it's very different from the experience that we had before when we were approaching the location from the other side. But yeah, in general, lights really helps to guide the player, and especially where you got a high contrast value between the dark and the bright values, that's where the eyes will naturally guide.
Also, you played the beta. I see.
So there you go, we got a car with some lights on.
Hopefully it won't make the same result of Anthem. Hopefully for them. I felt like it was a kind of a similar end game to Anthem because they wanted to replicate the success of Destiny or The Division.
Success? Cool.
Anyway,
What I wanted to show here, so this is like a completely different area from what we are looking at with the creature, and you can see how we got a clear path of where we're going or something. I know I see structures there, so in terms of John, exactly. So you can see how there's some structures there, and they are sticking out a lot because everything else, apart from those structures, are just vegetation, right? So you got like trees there. Actually, let me use a smaller brush. Got trees there. You got trees everywhere. Trees everywhere. Blah 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 blah. So you got trees everywhere, which also helps to define the edge of the world, the edge of this like map. But yeah, most everything it's all organic and natural, and the only man-made element is this one, which by doing that it creates a sort of contrast, and we all know by now that contrast is really important in all the things, in terms of value, in terms of lighting, in terms of material, and in this case in terms of what kind of assets are you using in this scene. So because everything else is so like very natural and organic, the structures here will stand out more because they are the only man-made things in this scene. So definitely will attract the players on that. And on top of that, you can see how there is this sort of clearing of the trees there, which naturally creates a lot of brightness coming from here, which is then highlights even more the silhouettes of the structures there and that. So that's another like indicator that that's a cool thing to do. And I was saying that this fight is very different from what we were encountered earlier with the creature, because right off the bat you got plenty of cover option here. You can see one here, you can see one there, you can see there's like a stump here or a log, I think. There's like a rock here, I think, or something, and there's an high cover there, and then a low cover there. There's something else there. Another one there. Another one there. I don't know if there's something here. Maybe there's something there. I don't know. Can read that. And in general, because of the how this game is, since it's a cover-based shooter, you want a lot of covers, and you want to be close enough so that when you take cover here, you can hold space and move to the other cover naturally by having the AI moving for you without you having to move. And in general, if you are making an environment for a game where you have to shoot, or you're working on a project where you have to shoot, covers are there also to provide safety, obviously. So even if the game or the project you're making is not necessarily cover-based shooter, but it's just a shooter, you will see a lot of times covers and things like that.
Yeah.
Thank you for the reminder, Jan. So that's what I was drawing. And so covers and cool. As you can see here, because we got a structures here, we can say that the guys went down there and they started to unpack some crates, and they put crates to go exploring the jungle or something. And then on top of that, we got some element like discover here. It's a rock, or discover here. It's a log from the tree. So this, we like in here, the devs are trying to integrate the cover placement with environment. So it looks like, oh, there's a rock here, let's use a rock for the cover. And in terms of the log, they clear this area out. So maybe on the side we will see some stump or something where you can tell where the tree was, but the tree is not there anymore. And instead you got the log of the tree that was there used as a cover in the space to integrate a bit more. And obviously paddle. Look at that. Is there a paddle here?
Look at these paddles.
Yeah, paddles.
I'll take care of the wounded. Just hold them back.
Jacob, cover me. I'm going after Maxwell.
I gotcha.
Yeah, there was a paddle there, but it wasn't really.
Wasn't Major.
Didn't get enough justice with this lighting. I guess it makes sense because it's raining, but not for now. You can also tell I think, by the type of vegetation that has been used, where you can navigate. So you see the visual language of these plants, which are there. I guess there's like big trees here or something, and then you go very angled rocks in ways that is getting like very weird and not understandable where you have to step on it. And that goes that creates a sort of a contrast with a very readable like short grass that we have here. And you see how this space becomes much more readable in terms of shape and everything, and how this is like the space where you actually have to move around. And as we were saying earlier, if you have a big area of grass and things, try to break it up with removing some of them or changing a bit of what type of vegetation you have. Try to add like some bushes and small vegetation just to break up a bit the monotony of having the same grass all over the place. You can see also not just the shape, but also the colors is very readable. You can see how there's some sort of a green layer on the entire area where you can move your character on. I like the sounds of the water, like pretty cool. Very relaxing.
Yeah.
So again, more covers. So this looks like they came here with the vehicles and they dropped some crates out because they wanted to explore.
You're here just for the gameplay.
We are all here just for the gameplay. So one thing here that is cool is I think we got a first time like a flanking route or something, and you can see like it's clearly there, and you can see how it's there and not here, because from here the players can go straight up there in a very smooth way. So the navigation is really nice. And so you got like this route here, which is number 1, and then we got another route at the bottom, which is signposted by this cover here, which is pretty good. And you already have the spacing, and the player probably will go around there and then get to that point. And then I guess you got a cover there, and probably you see another cover there somewhere, another cover there. So you can see how you got 2 options here. Also, the silhouette of before I go to the option, the silhouette of things is pretty cool because it creates this sort of directionality. So you kind of know that you have to go somewhere there, I believe. But yeah, the 2 option is really cool because gives you the choice to play as you want. You can either go at the bottom and you're not very exposed and you got plenty of covers, or you go high risk, high reward, so you go on the top. You are a bit more exposed, but from the top you will be able to see all the enemies, even covering behind the covers. And that's like two player style, and probably it's also depending by the difficulty of the play, if there is a difficulty, because high difficulty might not go up here because you might get shot by everywhere and from every direction, and you will die most likely, where you will take a more like safe approach and stay at the bottom.
How the Outriders fucked everything up. Needs to die.
Outrider, wait. Maxwell is the only one who can call off the landing. You need to get him to defeat him.
And I don't know if you guys noticed, but let me see. I'm gonna go back a bit in the video so that I can draw something.
Outriders fucked everything up. Needs to die.
Outrider, wait. Maxwell is the only one who can call off the landing. You need to get
Let's turn around here. Alright, so here one thing that is very useful is not to overwhelm the players with too much information, too much information, and you can see how the covers are. They use probably 3 type of covers. They use the crate covers, which are this guy here, with the various variation, with tab, without tab, but pretty much have the same sort of color, the same sort of visual language, it's a sort of shapes and things. And then another, you can see another one here. There's another one there. Cool. And there are like more after it, which is cool. And then another type of cover that they use in this environment, because we are in an outdoor and it's more likely you find this sort of elements, is like this sort of log here. So we saw one here, but we saw another one on the other side of this bit here. So that's another another cover. And then I think we also have rocks or something else, which is the third cover. So always like stick with 3 main objects for the covers and use those as best as you can, instead of having 10 different type of props used as a cover, because if you do that, the players will get overwhelmed with the amount of information that they need to absorb of the image. Where if you have 3 covers, most likely 2 type of cover are right at the beginning. So if player use one, the players already learned a third of all the covers of where you can take cover in the bit that is looking at, because you just learn it by taking cover to the first one. So in general, less is more. So if you have covers, try to stick with the same 3 or 4 assets throughout not the whole game, but the bit. Because maybe after the bit there is a narrative bit where you don't have to shoot, and that's where you can have the swap. Or maybe if from an outdoor you go indoor, that's where you have a swap. But the more time you introduce new covers, the more time players will have to learn where you can take cover. You can see that it is always saying create kind of thing.
Kill the traitors! Don't let them near!
Again, guys, if you have any questions, even not related to games, feel free to ask in the chat, and we will use our question time to reply them.
Almost there. You're gonna be fine.
So, if I remember correctly, I didn't speed up this part because I wanted you to see that
Back into cryo until MedLab can
we are gonna get cryoed, I don't know.
Frozen.
Yeah, frozen. Frozen, and we will wake up in like 20 to 30 years. So we're gonna see a different environment in the planet that we will land it.
Look at that paddle. Oh my god, look at those paddles, guys. Look at that.
Soldier, you're ECA too, right? When we get to no man's land, we gotta stick together if we want to survive. Survive what? Getting our asses fried by the big storm. Hey, I told you two to shut the hell up. We're here. Come on.
Cool.
So you wake up and there's a ton of shit going on. You don't really understand, because the first Outriders were like rangers that landed on this planet that people from Earth wanted to colonize after destroying Earth. And it seems at first like paradise, and after they saw there was this anomaly, people went shit and nuts. So this anomaly that there's in this planet gives some chosen ones powers. So we're gonna see that our main character here is affected from this anomaly.
Of course, it's a chosen one, I guess.
And right now you have unlocked fire powers, so we can incinerate enemies now.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Yeah, Johnny's the
Yeah.
chosen one.
I'm the chosen one.
Let me go back a bit. Oh, wait.
You are
So
in good hands.
Slow end. You're in good hands, slow end. So one thing here, we got this. I keep forgetting the name of this thing, but those are like to block vehicles, boat, or things to, to get from that direction to this thing, and that's in player's mind. That's I hope at least I hope it's like, all right, no, go there, no, right? They're like, no. They say no. So they are creating some sort of boundaries to have guiding the players towards that direction. And you can see how we got dead bodies everywhere that Borto just ignored, like all these guys here, which are probably like the result of the storytelling that we are experiencing in the game. And they are all on the side to create this sort of channel in the middle, which is then reinforced by the use of planks. Yeah. Which is pretty, like, this image looked very complex at first, but then if you stop it and you look at it, you actually realize how just a path with a corridor is. Yeah, and as we were saying earlier, creating some different layering in terms of elements. You can see how these elements here is darker than the elements behind, which tells us that this is closer to the camera player, or maybe just I don't know. And that shows us that there is some sort of gap between this plane here and the plane behind, which is somewhere like that. So which tells us that there is some sort of space between those two, which might be where you have to go. And in general, I think the shape language that they use here is pretty cool. I like that. And it kind of creates this sort of lines, creating sort of lines kind of like that, which is works in this case to guide the player there, which is pretty cool. Thank you for the follow, Beto.
Thank you, Beto.
So as we did, as we saw earlier, here we got, I feel like, I'm not sure, we got another opportunity of, let me draw, it's like where you don't go, and that's another wall, something like that. We got another opportunity of option A or option B. And you can see how the option A is like right in your face, and like, all right, if you go option A, it's like most of the player will probably go with option A because it's like right in your face, you got covers and you can see like safety and everything. And option B, the only thing you can say is a bit of this bright spot, which is pretty cool because it's sort of it tells you in a very subtle way that there is another way over there, which is option B. And I think having those sort of A/B options is really cool for the players because it allows them to fight and navigate the environment in a nice way. I think in a like personal way that they can decide how to do that. And obviously, you can see how here, how the lights is coming from here, and the lights creates this very strong silhouette information there, which is where the eyes will sit on it. And on top of that, we got our obvious edge of the world thing. So like here, we cannot go. Should I use this? We cannot go here. And it is signposted by the use of these noisy rocks and things. And because of we add elements, we can also create some sort of directionality to the scene to guide the players around and to make a more interesting silhouette. And obviously, lastly, we got our amazing puddles. See that? There's like a massive puddles everywhere, which is where all the dead bodies are rotting. It's pretty cool. Probably if you look at this puddle from this direction here, you will see how the reflection of the skylight in your camera like that, which is pretty cool. Chosen one, always follow the lights, indeed. If you play like slow hand play like everything in ultra mode, maybe it would be more like, oh, where do I go? There? Oh, wait, maybe there's another way over there. Maybe that's safer or something.
But this was in ultra mode, you know? Ultra nightmare, actually. You probably can't notice because I'm too good at it.
I think so, indeed. So here, just to reinforce what we said earlier about overwhelming players with information, is you see now we are in a different sort of environment, and we're not anymore in that rainy forest, and you can see how the covers are changed. So now we got these wooden structures things, and you can see in this specific case here, we actually have only one asset kind of thing with different variation sizes and shades, but it's always the same assets, the same sort of language. And yeah, this is just to reinforce to not overwhelm with information the players. And I think they really did a good job, in my opinion, on this silhouette here, especially with the lights behind. It reminded me of The War of the Worlds, the film where Tom Cruise is playing, where there's that scene where the soldiers like runs towards the enemy because it's like, oh, I want to do that, I want to save the planet, and it's kind of similar kind of thing. But you can see how they put a lot of details and work on making sure that the silhouette is nice, and it adds that level of storytelling that even if you don't understand what this is, you can already tell that these are rebars and these are probably concrete reinforced pillars. So maybe this used to be like a place where like a big structure was built, but then something destroyed. You can see here as well the classic like construction rebar thing, to reinforce thing. And then they use the same sort of silhouette to add enemies, like in this case it's signposted by this arrow here, but you can see how that guy sticks out a bit more because it's against a brighter background than the rest of the image. Because if this guy was somewhere here, you wouldn't have seen it as good as where he is sitting right now. Yeah, I think it's cool. Somehow you can also tell that here is sort of where it's opening. You can see this sort of different language in the terms of silhouette, and this like harsh rake there, harsh like 90 degrees like vertical thing. Plus there is a bit of like brighter thing. The messages, maybe there are stats or something. Might be wrong, but yeah. And the fact that we see a bit of the silhouette on this side too. Oh, sorry. Bit of the silhouette on this side, so we see that. It might suggest that if you were using option B when you were coming up to this bit, maybe you will come from that direction, and maybe there is like other steps going up there somewhere to reach the top, and then from the top doing something that you have to do next. Again, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Maybe now we could take a break and see my new fantastic memes.
Oh, it's
They're
a meme
just
time.
free.
But yeah, like finishing this bit, you can see how the other direction was there, and pretty cool. Like before we go to the meme, let's finish maybe this bit, and you can see how here the game dev actually it's very hard to see anything in this shot. But let me move a bit more. How in this shot, in this bit of the mission, the whole intensity is ramped up, and in general, that's what you want to do. You don't want to create a fight that is the same in every bit, but you want to create different intensity in every bit, and that's obviously the job of the level designer to make the players more engaged in the game, and instead of giving the same thing, the same intensity all the time. And you can do that by changing what type of enemies you spawn. So like in this case, I think I saw a rocket launcher guy who was shooting and making everything very intense and high risk, but at the same times the environment can help you do that. We saw an example earlier with the forest. When there was no storm, it was like pretty easy and nice. When there was a storm, the intensity was very high. Also, the color of the light is very. It can help to show that sort of intensity and all other things. So one thing that I want to show here is that
Change scene.
Yeah, I wasn't drawing.
Oh, okay.
The only time you remember, I wasn't even drawing. Nice job. Yeah, I wanted to show this sort of very strong directionality to this thing. You can see how there's no tall things here, and it's all very like, look at that. There's also some sort of smoke. I don't know if that's a VFX or something, but that might be another, like, smoke. Create a contrast with the cloud that gets attention, which is why we want to look at. And because the light comes from this side here, it creates nice rim light on the covers. You can see here. Actually, let me change color. Since the light comes from here, like this sort of light thing, the light creates this sort of nice rim light and highlights on objects and things, which are pretty cool. We did many times. We did actually. Let me redo it again. So we got this. In this case, let's use the wall. If your camera is here, I'm gonna be quick. If you wanna know more about this sort of things, go check the videos before. We got a YouTube channel where we made the highlights, so probably you will see on one of them. But the point is that if the player camera is there and the light is like around the same height, the light will bounce in the camera by bouncing. It will highlight all the roughness details and all the normal map details that you have there. Where if you have the same light but it's somehow from the top looking down, so like imagine like a ceiling light or something like that is creating this sort of cone, the light bouncing will bounce in a different angle, and in order to see the details creating with this light, you will have to tilt the camera and looking down in that way. So by adding this light that is almost at the camera's height, you will improve your material rendering of the scene. Again, if you want this, if you want to know this more explained, go check the other videos on the YouTube channel, because it's a long topic all the time, and I want to repeat it all the time. You can find the link on YouTube. on the about section in the Twitch channel, there is like more videos. If you click on the image, you will find it. Or maybe the Discord bot, the chat bot will post it for us. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm sure that Gianluca thought about that. There you go. There you go. Good job.
So we could,
Before we stop,
yeah.
I wanted to highlight another thing that is common. Obviously, here is probably the last fight, so I think we should finish this bit before we break this up. And again, we got this sense of movement that is all leading there that we saw earlier. Oh, very cool. We got these like two main covers, which is where probably most of the fight is gonna take place. And one thing that I want to mention is that when you create a game or an environment that is made for a cover-based game type of thing, try to create things that looks safe to cover on. Like in this case, you see that we have these planks here, and the planks obviously they're not safe, but inside the planks there is sandbags, which will prevent the bullets to hit you. So in general, don't just place a wooden planks and say, oh, that's a cover, unless you want to use that as that's a breakable cover, so it's not very safe. But instead use the material to explain why it's safe to take cover. So using metal, use like sandbags, using maybe you can use wood, but just make sure that the wood has I don't know, rivets or like metal parts in it that shows that it's kind of reinforced and stuff like that. Concrete is a good one as well, all sort of thing. Obviously, like getting covered behind plants is not a thing. Getting covered behind tabs is conversation. Don't hog the conversation. What you mean? So in general, try to use the material wisely in terms of cover. And one thing you can see how the characters when it's taking covered. Here you got the knee like that or something. You got feet. Got feet like that or yeah, pretty much the body. So when you're making assets that are for covers, you want to make sure that the fits and how the silhouette is covered. So that's why it's important to have a good like line like that and then add variation on it. So that even if the character is at the end of this cover, it's still all behind this thing. What you don't want to do is to have details like if this is a cover and that's the floor, you don't want to have details like that, right? Because then the fit is gonna be here and potentially the enemies will be able to shoot at the fit. So I hope that explained better what I'm saying. So instead try to make the cover more like covered all around and then add details on top of that just to break the silhouette, like what it tried to do here. For example, when you're in an indoor and there are a lot of tables are really bad for covers because there's nothing that covers you. So what you can do if you want to keep the table like that, you need to place props underneath. So you can put like a metal cabinet with the drawers there, and like something like that with the drawers, and then you can have on one side of the desk you can have like a panel there to blocking, and another thing that you need to have is like something here. So maybe you can have I don't know some sort of metal box or something here so that it makes safe to get cover here. And even if this location is empty and there's only the plank in the background protecting you, it's fine because the edges of the cover are nicely covered, kind of thing. Maybe we will see more example. Yeah, in general, pretty cool scene. Pretty cool scene. Let's see what happened. Is it the top one they have of the boss?
No, just a common tag.
The random boss, just people.
These flares, this
Look at that.
Look at the movement things going on.
forest
It's pretty cool.
landed.
Ah, that was a game. Nice. So you see now how from an open environment that we were fighting, that was very open, we are now in the trenches, and it's kind of it's all more like CQB. It's all like covers and corners and things like that, rather than open and you see all the covers and you have like a wide visibility, and that's a way to create the type of combat that you have in the environment, to create some sort of variation, whether you have the chance. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Shall we look at the meme? Meme time?
Yeah.
I would call the question time sounds just for the meme. Beep, beep, beep. Alright, let's look at the meme.
So actually, there was a question that we bypassed from Slow End that asked us, when did we start playing games? And I thought it would be cool to actually answer it. Don't you agree?
Yeah, you can
When
start.
when did you?
When I did,
You can
I
start.
I
yeah.
think the first games that I started to play were on Windows 95. I remember there was this computer at my grandparents' house that was kind of cool, and we were installing all those games, like mostly demos, because at that age we weren't so wealthy to buy games. So we relied to parents, which weren't really looking to buy games for us, and yeah, we were playing mostly demos. Don't remember specifically what game. There was this game was called uh, Capitan Claw,
Oh yeah.
which is actually made by a really good studio right now, which is like it was good to know. But at the time, I just didn't know, and that was like a 2D platformer game, which was really cool.
Mhm.
I think I spent a lot of
Cool.
hours, and I think what brought to the industry to me was when I played Half-Life 2. I think Half-Life 2 really like opened my mind. I was like, oh my god, the physics, the lighting, all those details and things. So that's definitely the game that kind of led me to this industry.
Cool.
What about you?
So mine was actually Aladdin. Do you remember Aladdin? It was a side scroller to the platform
Yeah,
for
I was
Windows.
playing that on Mac as well. The older,
Yeah,
colorful iMac. There was a
yeah,
version for
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, I remember that because I went to I was going to my parents' office and I was playing it on their computer, so that was kind of nice. And probably the game that got me so much into gaming was Sacred 2. That was like a Diablo-like game, so top-down game with an isometric view and looting and stuff like that. I remember that I was spending so much time on it that I was playing it online, and at the time we were paying for hourly. The internet was paid hourly, and we reached like 200 bills that month because I was playing so much. And so my parents said something like, okay, we need to change the contract because we can handle this. So yeah, that was kind of nice.
That's good.
On the Sega Genesis. I don't know if you were talking about Aladdin, but it was actually on DOS, Windows, you know.
That's it's cool. What about you guys? What's the first game you played, and what was your your first like game you played?
Memory, yeah. Gaming related memory. So
In
we
the
can skip to,
Yeah,
yeah, sorry.
to the meme while people are answering that, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
start with the first meme. So for who doesn't know, every week Porto makes 3 memes for the Tuesday live, and we're gonna look at it. All right, I guess we got a pipe city, and I guess it's not very readable where to go.
So where should you go?
I mean, there's a ladder in that case, the pipes are the noise, and what's not pipe is what leads you. So you can see there is a windows in the background and the ladder there, so that I can draw that. You can see like this ladder here and there are windows. So maybe that's connected. You see there's a car walk there. So because everything is a pipe, then what is not a pipe is what stands out. Usually is
Yeah,
the opposite. Usually everything is very concrete and the pipe stands out and help you guiding you. But in this case, the opposite.
I appreciate the effort about finding it a sense. Yeah, cool. So we
And then
can go with the next one.
what we got here.
This is actually true. I feel like the pressure when recording the gameplay, and I feel like I'm doing it shitty gameplays. But when I'm alone, dudes, I play like a god.
That's for you, slow end. That's for you, because Borto wants appreciate your the way you see him. Then what we got? Oh shit! you see how beautiful this panel is, apart from everything. Like, look at that. Look at the reflection. That look at the contrast between this material and this material. This and that. So good. And you can see how it's not just a puddle out of nothing, but it's also like all wet around, which shows that the puddles kind of flows or were there and they kind of went inside that. And you can probably see that this darker part are the steepest part around the puddle, which is where the liquid will flow and feed the puddles. And these area here that are shinier, they're flat because that's where the water will get trapped. And I think it's really cool. See, like all the
Yeah,
little
cool.
variation. Always add paddle, guys. If you're making a scene, the paddles add a lot of things. Yeah, we'll stop. Let's go back to the video. So slow and say Deus Ex. Nice. Nice game. I've heard a lot of good things about Deus Ex. I haven't played myself. Let's go back to the video then.
So the Hand of Dan, its firstly earliest memory was playing Super Mario on the NES and Duck Hunt. Duck Hunt, I never played of it. I heard so much of it. I actually played. I don't know if you remember the PlayStation 1 game where you had the gun and you were shooting mini games with the two guys. That one was the tall one with an egghead. Can't you remember that? It's like shooting.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Let me Google it.
So because we haven't brought it up today, I think that's the time to bring it up a bit. And this is how you are back to the game, and that's how the cinematic is leaving you. It's giving you control back, and you can see if we draw this magic rule of third. for who doesn't know, rule of third is an easy way to place objects in the frame to create a nice composition. You can see how this character, whether that character is important or not, is kind of in one of the third. And what I also see is that this character is kind of looking at that direction, maybe more like that direction, which is give you a bit directionality. And because we got a ladders right in front of us, that's definitely like, it looks like, you know, there's this area here going down, and on top of that ladder you also have elements like this going down, and you also have all these big mountains going down. So it looks like we're going down. What do you guys think? And yeah, I just want to bring it up, the rule of third, because we haven't said anything today about rule of third, so this was a good way.
Yeah,
And you
that's
can
true. It's the first time.
you can see how the character is, you know, on the third person game, your character is always it's on one of the third, and that's to create a nice composition all the time, and that's pretty cool in my opinion.
So yeah, Time Crisis was pretty cool, but I was talking about Point Blank. Don't know if you guys know it. I'll write it in the chat.
What we got here? Let's play a bit more. Let's see what we got here.
Flavors. They call themselves the Hounds. And believe me, no one's gonna meet them if you put a few dozen in body bags.
So when you play the game, don't you like to explore and check things? You just go straight to the objective?
Our soldiers happy.
Well,
Because that's what it looks like. You got like a nice environment that you can explore and check, but you go straight to the golden mark.
you know, when I record, I feel like I should just go where I should go with the for the main mission and not just explore it so much. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
What the hell is going on out there?
So here we are again. We are another fight, and we have same sort of things. In this case, we are indoor. We are in a more industrial environment. We go cover A, which is like nice big cover there. Oh, it's coming like that, which is provides you safety, and then probably from this point on, you will be able to play with other people. Or no? Do you know?
Yeah. From this point on, yeah, you can play with others.
So to me, the reason why there's such a huge cover is because we can fit 4 players. You can see that, and that's like the first cover you have in the scene. So you want to make sure that everyone is safe, and then, you know, one can go there, one can go there, one can go there, one can stay here, whatever. But you need to have at least one cover that can have this sort of protection. And as we were saying earlier, we got this type of cover, which is this like metal sheet with wooden structures around, which is, I think, what this is as well. So we got that, and I think there is more somewhere, maybe there. I can't really tell because it's dark. You can see that it's here. And then the other cover that we got is the same crate that we saw outdoor earlier. We got one crate there, one crate there, and then lastly, I think we can also use the concrete of the building as a cover. So you can see how there's a cover there and a cover here. So again, you can see that they kept the same sort of 3 main covers, and you know, that's just to give you all the information right at the beginning, because you're like, okay, this is a cover, so you know that this are coverable, and then you already saw this one, so you're like, all right, I can cover that, and somewhere else. So you already learn, you already know and learn a lot of these scenes very, very, very quickly. On top of that, you can see how in the scene, because there is no like game fight, it's so much more noisier in comparison with the bottom one, and that's a way to create contrast. And you got like foreground elements that creates parallax. You got these like tab structures there, which is pretty cool everywhere. And they add a lot of parallax, a lot of details, but they don't break the line of sight with enemies, and don't really like affect your experience when you're fighting. And I think on top there is a sort of a grid or something, and there is also a big fan moving. And if you saw other videos that we made and other live, if you haven't checked the YouTube channel, there is a light coming from the sky, and there's the movement of the fan moving around, which is pretty cool because it adds a lot of movement to the scene. Because in general, what you want to do is to add movement to the scene, like tab moving or the chain wiggling or things like that. One thing that I noticed as well is this thing that is sort of yellow, so I'm wondering that if you shoot at that will make this fall and kill enemies. And I think that could be the case, and maybe they want to let you explore that possibility. And yeah, everything is 90 degrees because it's kind of it's an easy win for the level designer when they design the space to kind of have the covers all facing at the right direction. Because imagine like this cover was like on an angle like that, which is pretty good for like looking at that, and you're going to take that cover, but there is an enemy taking cover there, it would be able to shoot at you because you are in this weird angle. So it's much easier for a level designer to place everything on 90 or 45 degrees angle, so that they can prevent a situation like that where you're in cover but enemies are kind of in front of you but a bit on the side, and they're able to see you and shoot at you. So by doing everything 90 degrees, they make sure the AI and players can only cover on those 4 directions, which it's easier to understand. And as we say earlier, like overwhelming with information. In this case, we got 3 type of covers, and if we place covers in 2 direction, we got only 2 direction that players need to learn, and it's pretty straightforward for the players to understand, I think. Because like if this cover was slightly angled and you got enemy there, you're just thinking, oh, if I cover that, will I get shot, will I not? And that thinking process is something that level design try to remove, so that they create a smoother experience, so that if you see enemies there and the cover is like parallel to the line where the enemies is, that that's safe to take cover against that guy there. Hope that answers your question. It was a good question.
How do you feel about the top edge of cover being completely straight?
I think sometimes it's not completely straight. Like when we were seeing earlier, there was some variation with planks. Like in this case, there is some sort of tab on it, which is kind of nice. Definitely, the less information you have on covers, the more readable they becomes. And the fact that those are metal panels kind of create a contrast with the thing. Ideally, though, you would need to try to add elements on it, like things that bullets can hit and break, so that it all looks really cool. Because if you are taking cover and people, the NPC, are shooting at you, you will get these cool effects of physics objects bouncing around and getting destroyed, which will look super cool. But in that case, they were just metal ships. So if I will, I will try to add variation on the silhouette, even if they were metal sheet, by creating some I don't know, some gaps or some like small things that sticks out. But I see how that cover is very readable because it's just like a cube. Guess you did something here.
So we got rushers.
Yeah, rushes are really good when you. This is more like a level design kind of thing, but let's say like Borto is right now on this cover, and it's a very powerful cover because you have a upper end on everything, and you can see how this is the tallest place to be if you want to fight enemies. But because they are rusher, and rushers are those type of enemies with a baseball bat or with a shotgun or whatever that comes at you and makes you like shit your pants and run away, and that's just to create a sense of insecurity of camping on the first cover you have, because you might have people flanking you and coming from the back while you're like focusing on this and try to snipe them with a assault rifle because you feel safe, and the rusher will help players to move around by scaring them around. If you're not playing the game, Leo, the trickster class was the most fun by far. I guess you can choose classes. That's cool. I don't know.
I think you have 4 of them. I choose the pyromancer, so as you can see, I burn things and do stuff. So what? I didn't play the trickster class. What's about it? Is it like electricity or stuff like that?
Oh, it's more like a stealthy one.
Oh, maybe. You get up close to the enemies, so maybe, yeah, a stealthy one. Or a melee one. More fun than shooting from cover. You know, people enjoy that too.
That's why there are classes, so that you can accumulate everyone. Yeah, the teleport thing and getting behind, that's interesting indeed.
Now where's Yak?
So I didn't really notice that this environment was so 90 degrees, and now that I notice it, it feels kind of, it's good level design, I guess, but it feels lazy in a sort of way.
It's not necessarily lazy. It's just it's just easier for everyone, for the level design and for the players to understand. So maybe that the early levels are all kind of very 90 degrees, where the other ones are more like organic and interesting the more you progress the game, because you will learn the game and you're experiencing. So here I wanted to mention something about what I said earlier, which I'm gonna try to do very quickly again, because this is like a really good example. And the reason why we see all these, let me use a yellow, is why we see all these details here. You see the nice highlights on these catwalks that creates this sort of material contrast with this more rough material there, and the highlights of the pipes and all of like the lights here, this sort of information that we see here. And to me, the only thing is missing here is a puzzle, but let's go over that. But the reason why we see all these details, and you can see also on the wall, you got this nice roughness information, which is pretty cool. It's because the light is there. And the reason why we saw details is because of the thing that I'm going to draw now. So if this is the room that we are on, and again, sorry for those of you who already saw this, but I think this is a really nice and easy way to add details to the scene if you're making an environment. If this is the room that we are playing in, and you have the player camera, which is somewhere like around here, the player camera looking at this direction, and in that case, that door is somewhere like that or something like that. If we have a light from the top, sort of like this, that is pointing down, the light will bounce, because the light basically bounces everywhere, so it will bounce like that, until it loses of intensity and you don't see anymore. But the light will bounce in a way and then bounce back up. And it's the bouncing of the light that creates this sort of highlight. So if we have a light from the top, in order to see the information of the materials on the floors, walls, and all those like part of the environment, we will need to tilt the camera looking down in order to see that sort of kind of details, which is cool, but this is like a really good way to signpost things. But in this case, they both signpost the door as well as the details, because the light is sort of here. So because the light is kind of at the same height of the camera, the lights that will bounce on things will probably bounce like that, and then bounce back into the camera. So you can see how a light from more or less the same camera height, it will bounce on the floors, wall, the ceiling, and get back in the camera without having to tilt the camera to look at those details. And that's why I think having a light at the same height of the camera really works to create a really atmospheric look to your environment, as well as to get all these nice highlights and material information of your scene, because the lights naturally being there will make the rays bouncing in a wider angle, so that they can reach better the camera without having the player to look around and turn around thing. Hope that clear. Look at those pipes, guys. Look at this pipe.
Yeah. So many pipes. There's always a level near the start of a game with pipes.
It's always pipes indeed.
Maybe it's just a thing about game developers. They want you to see you in a sewer.
I mean, look at this. Wait. Now, wait. Look at that pipe. Do you see this? There's probably an asset there and a hand there, and it gives that directionality, and there's another asset that turns 90 degrees, and then there's another asset that goes down that way. And that's really good to bring directionality down this way. Like, so good. Very good. Yeah, let's go back a bit in the city. Let's have a look a bit of the city.
I did a fast travel, but yeah.
That old drunk just refuses to die.
So it looks like this city is set in this abandoned or old industry or something.
Facility. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see how there is like big doors here, big doors opening that perhaps dividing the area of the space of this village of this settlement. And I think what's really cool about it is all the level of infrastructures about this thing, because probably this is like tall enough that for someone walking through this they might be tripping, or maybe I think there is a sort of a gap or something there that if you don't know exists, it will make you trip and hit yourself and blah blah blah. So because of health and safety, those warning signs are there to highlight the fact that you need to be careful. And I think really good way to ground the environment that you're making, whether you're making a sci-fi environment or whatever, to the reality, because we do have those kind of warning like stripes everywhere where we need it. So it's pretty cool. And then what we see that it's very like, in general, as an artist, if we have a cable tools, we like to put cables, and in general, cables adds a lot of parallax. And with parallax, you get a lot of movement when you moving in the scene, because basically a parallax. If the player camera is here, if we simplify what parallax it is like you got this thing, and you got one element here and one element there. And when you move the camera sideways, so you're moving that way and that way, those elements will move on a different speed. So because of that different speed, you will see that what we call it the parallax, the fact that they are offsetting each other in a nice way. And if you see the webcam, they're doing like this kind of thing. They're like moving like this. And that's like a pretty cool effect that adds a lot of movement and depth to the scene. And we try to add it in a scene. Obviously, this is now a scientific explanation of what a parallax is, but if I have to draw it, that's what it is. So it creates some sort of offset movement to the scene, which is pretty cool. And yeah, and cables and old things hanging from the ceiling really helps to do that. And in general, creating layers in the image that you're making really helps to create this sort of parallax effect, which had movements. Let's see what else we got inside here. So here it looks like we got vendor, we got a bar. So it looks like it's a big settlement, and you can tell there's not much storytelling. Maybe like a sign that says bar or something with a neon. Maybe that got stolen from somewhere, and some extra decoration thing to sell a bit more the space. It would have been like a better execution of this bar, but I think maybe that's in line with the universe, which is like all not fun. Like it's not fun. It's just a sad universe and thing. And even if you are in your safe house kind of location, everything still look very low, very monotone, not many colors, and very sort of sad. And obviously, what really tells me that this is a bar is the very iconic counter thing here. That you have that, and the high chairs. You can see how the high chairs there, and people are doing something there, probably drinking, and there's one behind it. So right from the distance, having a bar like this, some high chairs, some people sitting, I can already read that this is a bar location. Then if you want to make it even more obvious, things like light signage and maybe tables around might also have helped a bit. Getting like some tables in the vicinity with chairs and things might help to sell the fact that this is all connected. And also having a chef in the background with the forget about my perspective right now, but like having a chef with liquids and bottles things, even if they're not very filled. It would have been cool to sell that idea even better. You obviously spend a lot of time in bars. Maybe. No. Let's see what else. We really don't get to see much because Borto is like a machine. He like go right to the objective. Doesn't care about the environmental storytelling.
It was a small city just for the start of the game.
You see, he skips the cinematics. He goes straight to the point. He doesn't care.
Outrider, be careful out there. It's bad.
I'll see what I can do. Shira, I still got about 30 years of questions to catch up on.
So if you make it back in one
And we
week,
saw this shot earlier. It's cool.
but I don't promise I'll have
Let's
all
see. Okay, so here, I don't know. Is the chosen one indeed? So here we got this cable, and I think the devs are trying to create some sense of logic with this tabs canopy thing. You can see how we got this canopy triangle looking thing, and it's pretty cool because they're looking good and they have like nice highlights in the tab, so it's like a shiny tab. And one thing that you can say straight away is that this is not one piece, but it's like made out of smaller pieces sewed together, and that's clearly, the world that they're living. They don't have brand new material, but they have to scavenge materials and try to resolve things like this. And yeah, you can see how there is like the ring here. I don't know what this side doesn't have the ring for some kind of the reinforced part of the tab for some kind of reason, but this is also really good to add that sense of logic to the tab, that that's where the attachment to the rope goes in order not to break the tab. And then you have these that are hanging from the top, which again, as we say earlier, creates some sort of parallax and creates some sort of logic. In this case here, this cable specifically, it might make sense that it's holding this thing, but this one going here, it's kind of weird. So maybe that's not just a cable for supporting the tab, but it's more like a connection cable, like a radio or electricity, that from there might be a post or something holding these two tabs together, and from the cable from there goes down. And you see, in order to break those cables from time to time, we also add elements on the cable, which is like in this case, we have that, or we can add, imagine like there is like a shoes with a lace and the shoes like stuck there, or we can have like a piece of fabric hanging down, or elements that can add a bit of more volume to the cables to make them more visible and improve the parallax experience. And obviously from here, there's nothing blocking the view there, and that's sometimes when we play the game after a lot of playtest, we understand where the players are looking, and we try to open areas to create some vista shot, like in this case. So in this case, you are learning that there's this cutway going on that side, and then it goes there, and then it goes somewhere there that you don't see, and you can see it there. So you can see that this space, even if you cannot go there, you can already tell that this space is bigger than it looks. Because, especially if you don't explore like the chosen one, you don't see those details unless we show you these details by leaving these opening vista shots. And in this case, we got the same sort of elements, the canopy tab. And in this case, it's less, is there not to provide shade, but to prevent the rocks from falling on top of people walking here, which is pretty cool. It just shows that maybe this rock is not kind of degrading and is losing stones or things, so they have to add that because they want to prevent that. Or maybe there's like water dripping down there, and this tap is like preventing water to fall on top of people. We got a similar one here, and it's pretty cool to see the same sort of elements in like here, there, and there with different variation color, but we understand that this is the same sort of elements, so we understand better the size and scale of this environment here. And as we did here, for example, that we did a tarp, did a cloth to break a bit the cable. That's what they did exactly in the background, to break a bit this catwalk railing looking everywhere. They try to add tarps like that to break it up a bit, because it's very easy to end up in catwalk city for a level design, because they're very easy to assemble and to create whatever you want. Yeah.
The chosen one doesn't have time for these small details. He must go straight to the point.
One thing that I noticed is that so here, obviously we got another vendor. I don't know what is vending, probably food, but that's like a nice way. You can see how the wall is very like flat there, but because there's these things that I can't remember the name, ironing or something, it's like breaking the wall, and that also logically makes sense, because probably this is where it closes down like that, which is pretty cool. That shows like there is a bit of logic, there is a bit of thinking process behind the way that they build that. And a lot of times when there's an area that we want to highlight a bit more, we place something at the bottom to break the floor where most of the floor is. So especially if there is some, like if we draw like that and there is a ladder going like that, instead of having just this sort of ladder like that standing into nothing, we try to add maybe a piece of tab there, or like something there that kind of connects these two together and signpost the ladder even from an angle where you wouldn't see the ladder. And I think that's what I kind of want to do that there. And also because metal is a hard material, this cardboard might be better for people lining up for buying something here. Like in this case, I don't understand what this guy is selling, so probably a better storytelling could have done. But I guess it can go back to the fact that this world is sad, and we don't want to add those flavorful micro storytelling to the scene, like other games might want to do. In here, remember that we were saying, oh, tables might have to set the idea. That's what they actually had. So we were just looking for the wrong direction, but you can see how there's tables, chairs, and this is like connecting more with a bar, which is here, bar that we were looking earlier, which is that. Obviously, here we got a market, which is like money, so maybe that's where you buy thing. And is this someone with a sword, and this guy, it looks like they are fighting or something? Looking at the poses, probably they're animating and everything. So here you might find fighting gears, something like that. And the fact that there is a grid protecting the equipment, that might be also telling that it is like equipment that needs to be stored safely. And again, here we got the same elements of the canopy sticking out, which is pretty cool. And probably it can close like that as well, which is pretty cool in the logic of the space. See.
What the hell happened?
Puddles? You see the puddles? I hope you saw the puddles. We are about to the end, by the way, so let's go to the webcam. to our office. Welcome back to our office. Do you guys have any questions? Have you anything that you want to ask before we go?
Oh, we have one. How do you feel about the linearity of these levels? It felt pretty outdated to me to essentially just follow a straight path in this type of open world game. Asked Osharks.
What do you think, Gianluca?
I think it was, it was the start of the game, so it kind of needs to be that linear. The player doesn't need so many distractions right from the start. You just need to do this quick task, learn about the mechanic of the game, and then if you're gonna see if you will see the next part of the gameplay, you get to a point where there's a more open area. But yeah, it didn't kind of feel unique, the gameplay, the game itself. So yeah, what do you think, Leo?
Yeah, I think in general, at the beginning, you're gonna to babysit the players throughout the first levels. So it's very common that you see very linear and easy levels from veteran player point of view. And that's just to be able to better tutorialize things and to make sure that the players knows what they're doing. I don't know what's happening towards the middle of the game, so I don't know if that game becomes open world or something. But yeah, in general, having like like linear part in the beginning and then maybe opening to the open world is like a common thing that is done in order to not really stays linear. I guess I wouldn't call it outdated, though. I would call it just different because a lot of people don't like open world because when game devs ended up making open world games, they ended up making a lot of things very open worldy feeling. So, for example, if you take a non-open world game, you can see how the Uncharted games are very nicely done and they're very curated because they only focus on linear corridors and they can deliver a very good narrative because they know exactly where every player is going to be because since they are only being on a corridor, they all know that the player is always being in that corridor so that they can really display things in a nice way. Where in open world it's a bit harder, so you lack a bit of that storytelling, and then because in open world you need to have a lot of factions, which is something that you have to have in a linear way too. But the factions are kind of systematically behaving with each other, and there's a lot of systemic things going on. You kind of lose that sense of storytelling, which linear games might benefit from. So I guess that was just a decision to go linear, just to try to make a more a narrative game, and yeah, I guess maybe it's something different. Like the Division is open world, and you go around, and this is not just like a different game. Might also be related to budget because when you start a project, the company allocate a budget, and open world are obviously harder to make because you go an open world to make, and all the debugging and things that comes out from it as well. Well, linear obviously is more controlled, so it's easier. In linear, if you don't like a bit, you can just remove it and put a cinematic and teleport the players after cinematic somewhere else. Where in the open world, removing a block, it's a bit more difficult. Obviously, you can always fence it off, but in then how you justify why it's fenced off, there's a lot of complication that goes behind the open world iterations that linear games doesn't have, which makes linear game cheaper to make than open world in my opinion. Obviously, then you got things like Last of Us and Uncharted that has a high production standard and budget, which makes amazing games. And I think that's all from me. If you guys have other questions before we leave, otherwise we're gonna see you next time.
Yeah. If if you want, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel if you like our content, and feel free to drop also on under our videos questions that you like to ask us on the next episode. And if you want to join the discussion, we have a Discord server where you can join, share your work, ask us anything, or give us suggestions. We appreciate any feedback that you can give us right now. So because we started from like a month or so. So yeah.
What game are
want
we
to
gonna
add any-
play next?
I think we should play Wolfenstein. I saw that these kind of B tier games are not so spicy. Maybe we could maybe see a AAA game the next time.
Yeah. Also, Deliver Us the Moon. It's I bet it's a really good game from a friend, and maybe we should add that in the line.
Oh, I didn't know that. Let me Google it.
Anyway, guys, thank you for being here. And again, feel free to just say anything, just ask questions. If you want feedback, feel free to join the Discord channel and post your art, and we'll try to squeeze the giving feedback in our time. And
Yeah, cool.
yeah, I guess I'll see you in 2 days on Thursday at the same time. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Have a good day or night, wherever you
Bye-bye.
are. Bye.